SJ. Welcome to Mvskoke Radio, your weekly source for tribal and community news, interesting guests and discussions, plus a local events calendar. SJ, Stongo, Gary Fife, Jaho Jeff Gados, Mvskoke Radio, Mabuheja Dwejigis. Welcome to our program. We've got a couple of things to share with you today. First of all, we've got the Euchee Heritage Festival coming up in the beginning of the next month. And then it's the Halloween season. We have not done too much with that this year, but we have a returning program. Ms. Becky Barnett from the Language Department is going to be joining us. We're going to learn some words in Muscogee about the Halloween season, and we want to take your calls, and you got stories about things that you couldn't explain. Please share them with us. We'd love to hear them. But first of all, let's get rolling here with our first segment here. Joining us in the studio is Felix Brown Jr. and Jeff Rowland. Jeff is the managing director, is that correct, of the Euchee tribe, and Felix is helping coordinate this upcoming Heritage Festival. Good morning, gentlemen. Thank you for being with us.
Good morning.
Morning. I gotta say, Singarle.
It's so good to hear Indian languages. First of all, how would you call our relationship between the Muscogee and the Euchee? First cousins, or buddies down the road? You know, how would you guys explain that? First of all,
I would call it an alliance, so to speak. We came over at the same time in the removal act, the Trail of Tears. We all were grouped together. And the Euchees kind of, moved to their area of the Indian Territory here, and we remain. We're still here, and we're still doing our traditional dances every year, green corns. We're still thriving, and we were working with the Creek Nation with our language programs, and things are going well for us at this time. We're trying to continue to help our people. And at this point, we just want to be, recognized as, our Euchee people within the Creek Nation.
Okay, thank you, Roland. Now, Felix, let me ask you just kind of the same question. You are separate but close, I guess, family, so to speak, almost cousins. How would you describe the relationship between the two tribes?
Yes, sir. Close kinfolk. Close kin. We respect each other's traditions and cultures, and they're the same but different, as we always say. We have our languages, which is what makes us mostly separate from the Creek Nation, and even we have very few full-bloods left that's with us right now that are Euchees. Then we got our tradition and culture. We got 3 ceremonial grounds which are Euchee organized, and a couple of about 3 churches that are Euchee. And we try to, communicate with each one whenever we have traditions and cultures. But it's not only the Euchees. We go to different ceremonial grounds also, like the ceremonial grounds and churches, and from south, and then you go west. You go to Shawnee country down that way. Then you go east to Cherokee country. Then back up north towards Miami. But like I said, the Creeks and Euchee people, they're same but different.
Mm-hmm.
Just language is the only thing that kind of really keeps us kind of separated.
Right. I've seen notices about the language programs that you all conduct, and been over to events over in Sapulpa at the house there. But Felix, Roland, let me ask you, where would the most of your people be located geographically?
Well, the main populace of our tribe is located in the western quadrant of the Creek Nation. Sapulpa would be the area of most of our people. We're spread out all over the place, but majority of the Euchee speakers and the Euchee Euchee ground, the polecat ground that Felix and I both attend. That's my home ground. Is populated by Euchee people, and that's where we ended up. That's where we stay, and that's where we continue to be. Of course, Euchee people all over the country. We have Euchee people out in California. We have Euchee people everywhere, but we tend to reside in western Creek Nation.
Okay. You've got an important event coming up in just about another week or two. I guess, would you call it Euchee Heritage Festival? Is that an annual event? First of all, tell us what is the festival all about?
Okay, I can explain a little bit on this. This will be our 20th annual Euchee Festival, Euchee Heritage Festival. We started when we have an organization that we had, and then we was wanting to do something for the Euchee people, kind of have a festival, kind of like a reunion for people that, come and visit with each other. We know we have our ceremonies, but, this would be away from the ceremonial grounds. And we've had it many places. We've started in Kellerville, what they call it, used to be the Silver Dollar Ballroom down there. We'd had it there, and we had it at the Creek County Fairgrounds, and then Glenpool was our last one to have it now. This year we're having it at the Dome, and it's a big experience for us to be putting it in a setting like this.
Well, what comes to mind is, first of all, the Muscogee Festival in June. It's our annual festival. Entertainment, rides, vendors, food, all kinds of things. Kinfolk getting together, people who hadn't seen each other in months or years. Say, "Oh, good to see you." Yeah. Come on, let's go get some private rib.
That works.
So, is your gathering here essentially the same, or is it different from
the gathering is our gathering, but it's not a big event like the Creek Nation, Muscogee Creek Nation. We'll have some small events like I got a agenda here.
Sure, go ahead.
On Friday evening, we're glad to have our guest speaker, Dwight Pickering. He's the Director of American Indian Education. He's going to be our guest speaker for that Friday evening.
Yeah, I know Dwight, yeah.
Then we'll have our dinner, which starts at 7, and then after dinner, we'll have our Euchee language play. The Euchee language, the children there, they'll come and do a play for us in Euchee. Then that night, later on, after the play, we'll have what we have our bingo, and everyone's welcome to play bingo. That's for a Friday night event, November 4th. Then on Saturday, 1 o'clock, we have a horseshoe competition. Everybody, whoever wants to play horseshoes, come down, play horseshoes with us, and have a silent auction set up. Then about 3 o'clock, we'll have some cultural preservation demonstrations. Some just small stuff like making shells or yarn belts, loom yarn belts, bowl making, finger weaving, and ball stick making, and a traditional dress. That'll happen that afternoon. Then also the Euchee children will also do a Euchee bingo, and the Euchee bingo, they have animals or some type of item that's put in Euchee, and they'll say the Euchee word, and they'll match it up with that item that's on that bingo, and that way you can they know what they're playing for.
So if the caller's up there going, instead of I-17, he's thinking something.
Yeah, he'll say a name. Yeah, he'll say a name, and then if that name's on their card, they'll mark it, and then whenever they get fill that card or bingo, they'll win a prize.
But I presume the word bingo translates into
It actually does.
And all the others going, oh,
Yeah, everybody's like, hey, we don't know that.
I almost had it, too. Just needed to Kaja 23 there. Now, this festival seems like a real opportunity for your people to come together and enjoy themselves and have some fun and some cultural backup and reinforcement there.
Yeah, but it's for everybody. Everybody's welcome. Everybody's welcome. Yeah.
Everyone's welcome. Yes.
Yeah, I enjoy the bow making and then the stickball making. It's a really good event every year. It's for everyone. Come out and enjoy the food, enjoy the company. There'll be vendors there selling their art. The Euchee tribe will have someone on site to sell the merchandise for the tribe. It's a good event. It's a family fun weekend.
Let me ask you a couple of questions here, more in the, I guess we would call it political realm. First of all, we'd like to know how large your nation is. How many members do you have?
Well, theoretically, we have about 1,400 members out there. But on our rolls, we have officially, I want to say right around 250, 60 in that range. I believe the number's more like 257 to be exact. That's what we had as far as from our last federal recognition project. Those are the last people that actually came in, enrolled with applications. Put the Social Security numbers down. Of course, this was in trying to achieve federal recognition, and then in doing so, these people came out and they said we want to be part of this, and they actually decided to go ahead and fill out our applications and come in and enroll. These are card-carrying members that have the Euchee name on the front and their pictures, just like any other tribe would have. Unfortunately, the process is an ongoing process. We're still trying to figure out a way to make that happen for the tribe, but like I said, the legislation has changed and things have changed politically with Washington, so that may be put on the back burner for a while.
Well, that's become increasingly more important, I think. You mentioned the phrase federal recognition.
Right.
That's a long, drawn-out thing where you've got to have tons and tons
Some tribes have been doing it for 50 years, trying to get recognition.
And I think some of the guidelines have been strengthened and tightened up and made a little tougher, but I think it was, in some sense, kind of a knee-jerk reaction to all these groups popping up and saying,
well, it's all political. It's all trying to, everybody's trying to defend and deflect the
casino.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's not what we're about. We just want to, our people have spoken to the council and they said we just want to be recognized as Euchee people, and that's kind of where we're at now. We just want to be recognized as Euchee people, a distinct and separate tribe, living within the Creek Nation.
Well, I would think that that's the way you are recognized by Creeks,
right.
Other tribes, and not necessarily the feds.
Exactly.
We're just another Indian nation over there.
Yeah, and that's the way we see it. I mean, that's kind of where our people are looking at it that way. We are the 39th tribe in Oklahoma to be recognized by the state.
Well, that state recognition figures into your identity, I guess, if you want to call it. I know you all carry the Euchee name proudly, but for political and other reasons, that relationship with the federal government is not there and can create some major hurdles for you.
Well, it was there at one time. I mean, in the 30s, it was there. It was just, it got pushed aside, and we were just grouped in to be easier to deal with all the other tribes. So just say, well, these Euchee people, majority of them came with the Creeks. We're just going to call them Creeks and be done with it and move on to the next problem that we have on our plate. That's kind of where we fell. It wasn't until 55, I think, is when some of our ancestors came up and said we're going to file a lawsuit and we're going to get our recognition back, and that's what kind of started the dominoes right there. But right now we're just kind of treading water. Well,
yeah, and more power to you there. One real recent example of this political kind of a relationship situation was the amendments and changes by the Oklahoma State Legislature to the Indian Arts and Crafts Act, saying no one in this state who is not a member of a federally recognized tribe can come to an art show or something like that and sell their goods as Indian made because they don't have that federal relationship. That's never been anything that's ever come up before. I mean, people just
that just kind of as a slap in the face to capitalism. You want to be able to sell your wares and make feed your family and make a living. And if you're a Native American, you want to say I'm going to make these sticks for stickball, but I can't sell them because I'm not a member of we're not recognized federally.
Right, and I know I spoke to one of the sponsors of the legislation, Chuck Hoskins Jr. over in Tahlequah, and I asked him, "Why'd you guys do this? And why was it passed?" And he said, "Well, first of all, to protect those who are genuinely Native American from those who are fakes." And at the time,
so we're fake. The Uchees are fake. What we're trying to say.
Yeah. Well, you're they call it collateral damage.
Yeah, exactly.
It was because of all of a sudden you had a lot of instant Cherokees.
Well, I mean, and I totally see that. I mean, you can see that when you go out and you travel and you go abroad and you see these little rest stops on the side of the road and you have these Indian artifacts and they're obviously made not by Indian hands, but they're mass marketed, and you look on the bottom and it says made in Hincho and Mexico or whatever, or made in China or wherever it's made, but they sell it as an actual artifact, and that's I can see that, but when it comes to an actual native person trying to make a living somehow, some way, it's kind of a
and I, for the most part, people who are attending and taking part in these kind of art shows are in that category.
Yeah.
This is the way they make their living, and I can see that they would want to protect it, but as we say, collateral damage in doing so would raise another hurdle or a hurdle there. Now, have yourself or any people or members of your community run into this at all?
Not to my knowledge. I don't know how. I mean, do they have legislation to enforce that law? I mean, is there somebody going to run around and saying you're not, your Indianness isn't enough?
Yeah, well, state law is what it is, and I'm not quite sure. I don't think we really got into the penalty phase, but I would presume that they would be barred from entering the show, to sell, or if they were in a show, could they be removed by law enforcement? That's a good question.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone's really explored that, and I do not know that it's ever really come up. But theoretically, it could be a real pain in the side for your folks who are out there who depend on this. So it just hasn't come up anything.
Like Jeff was saying, you get vendors that come in and they set up, and they're trying to make a living for themselves. And most of the vendors that we associate with, we know them, and we know their background, their native background or so. And it's, I still don't know much about that either right now, so I'm finding out more.
Yeah, from my point of observation, it was almost something that was under the radar, kind of a stealth law.
That's how it works.
But, I kind of asked Hoskins about that, and he said, no, well, it wasn't really intended that way. It was mostly to keep these instant Cherokees out of the way and competing with the genuine native artists.
Yeah. Well, there's two sides. I mean, I can see that too.
Yeah,
but then again, we're with the grassroots,
exactly.
people, and some of us are trying to make livings with our arts and crafts.
I did not get the feeling that they had actually come to your group, to your nation, and talk with you about
No,
this.
we're not. We're not even on the radar as far as they're concerned. Which we're not. We don't have that stamp that says you're federally recognized. Had we had that, we might have been talking with them, but not to my knowledge. We haven't.
One of the effects of that law is for folks who are like multiple tribes. Like for myself, I'm Creek and Cherokee, and others could be, Muscogee and Euchee, they would have to come in under the Mvskoke name.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, that's one solution, but it doesn't quite fit so well. So I guess. Now, if someone was interested in knowing more about your people, attending one of the language classes or something like that, how would this go about? How would they do it?
Well, we have, like I said, have two language programs, one in Kellerville and one in Sapulpa. The director over the one in Kellerville, his name is Lister Rivas, and I don't have a number for him. And the one in Sapulpa is Richard Grounds, and they just the Euchee children. They just got back from Washington D.C. They went up there for a program that they did for the Euchee people up there. They did a prayer up there for the Euchee people, and that was good. Something exciting for them to have, to go be a part of.
Now, if you're interested in learning about Euchee history and Euchee culture, we have some information at the office that we could share with you. But a lot of good information that you'll find is actually at the Sapulpa Library. There's a whole wing in the basement of the library that's dedicated to the Euchee people. It's run by a couple of women down there. That I'm trying to remember one of their women's names, but they're actually people that are dedicated to our cultural preservation and our history, and they actually run that wing of the library. And there's a lot of great information down there on the Euchee and on the the town of Sapulpa and the Indians that live within the town. It's a lot of good stuff.
Are you finding more folks interested in relearning, perhaps, or knowing these traditions of their specific Euchee background and areas?
Yeah, I run into a lot of people that are interested in trying to learn the language. The language is a very unique dialect in its own right. I mean, it's one of the it's one of the languages that doesn't have another language that is similar to it. There's no other languages that are similar to Euchee. The closest that comes, and this is what I've been told, the closest language that comes to Euchee is Hebrew. But the Siouan language, no other languages are close.
I'm going to have to get into that Hebrew question because I've heard this at several places, like the Lost Tribe kind of thing. And that's worth exploring at some point. We'll try and do that. I'm glad you mentioned it.
Yeah, I was told from my grandfather, Albert Rowland, told me at one time, and my father, Al Jr., that the Uchees were described as fair-complected, light-eyed, light-skinned at one time. And they were the biggest population on the eastern seaboard out there, around Savannah, Georgia area.
We'll have to look into that. It's too intriguing not to leave it alone. Okay, well, let's wrap up here. Once again, about the festival, date, time, location.
Okay, November 4th and 5th will be our 20th annual Euchee Heritage Festival. It's going to be at the Cloud Cox Dome. Friday night events. We'll have Friday night events, and Saturday we'll have some more events. But I appreciate all the vendors coming and donations. If you can like to donate something to the festival, you're welcome. Just give me a call. My number is my name is Felix Brown Jr. My number is 918-504-0215. So I appreciate it. Stanley.
Okay. Lots of fry bread?
Yes, very. I like that.
Okay. Oh, yeah, that's my weak point. Okay, well, Felix Brown Jr. and Jeff Rowland, thank you guys for coming in and sharing some of your knowledge about this interesting
no problem. I appreciate the venue.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Yes. Our pleasure. It's what we're trying to do.
Glad we can put some of this out for we know we're recognized, but known, but we like to
Yeah. Well,
bring it out.
recognition is just a political tool.
It is. That's kind of where we're, like I said, we're kind of we're treading water right now. And
Yeah,
I think that's a good place to be, but at the same time,
Yeah.
A tribal town status is looking pretty good right now.
Okay. Well, thank you guys for coming in. Okay, we'll be taking a short pause here on Mvskoke Radio on at 1240 The Brew here in beautiful, cloudy Okmulgee here this morning. We'll be back in a little bit with our second half. Becky Barnett from the language program is coming in to talk with us about some of the things that go around in Halloween in Muscogee. The language, not the town. Okay, thanks.
I started doing it when I was 11. I wanted to be just like my big brother. And some of my friends were already doing it. We got hooked fast. I just can't get enough. I'm Jacob, and I'm addicted to playing the drums.
There's lots of stuff that makes it cool to be native. Doing meth isn't one of them. Find something better to do. Check out ncai.org. A message from the Partnership for a Drug-Free America and the National Congress of American Indians.
Who am I? Am I native? I don't want people assuming things because I'm Indian. I just want to be me. But how do I live in two worlds? Some guys just check out by doing meth. But that ain't for me. Because I see my family, my friends, my drum making, my future. There are a lot of cool things about being who I am. And meth isn't one of them.
Learn more at ncai.org. A message from the Partnership for a Drug-Free America and the National Congress of American Indians.
One Fire Casino in Okmulgee offers Ladies' Day every Monday with $5 match play, VIP days for seniors on Tuesdays, lunchtime match plays on Wednesdays and Thursdays, and several other great drawings and prizes throughout the weekend. Don't forget to take advantage of spinning the wheel on Sundays to win up to $5,000 cash. Be sure to check out the daily meal specials at Council Oak Cafe. There are exciting monthly giveaways with extravagant prizes. Come and play at One Fire Casino, where it really is okay to play with fire.
Welcome back to Mvskoke Radio here at 1240 The Brew in beautiful, cloudy Okmulgee. Coming into our studios and setting with us today is my language Mahaya. Becky Barnett came in to talk about this particular part of the year, a fun subject that we've dealt with in the past. Becky, first of all, thanks for coming in. We appreciate it. I know your schedule is ridiculous, but so I'm glad you made time.
Well, thank you for having me.
We had fun in one of our language class sessions about learning a few words related to the Halloween season. And I know we had a fun show last year on the same subject about
Yes, we did.
things like that. But you come in to coach us here on some of the words that actually apply and share some stories.
Okay.
And what we'd like to do is for our listeners to share, call us and share if you share stories if you've got something that was pretty interesting. We want to know if you had an interesting encounter that you couldn't explain or you can explain and we can't. So give us a call here at 918-756-3646 and we'll try and put something together. We hope to hear from our Mvskoke Media crew later in this broadcast about the recent experience they had in the council house. So first of all, Becky, the council house seems like it's an incredible magnet or center for this kind of energy. Have you ever known that to be the case? Have you had any experiences there?
Yeah, I have. It's an old building. And, back in history, and all the people that had meetings there, they're gone now, and it was really, really old people. So, yeah, one time we was in there, I had my 3 kids, and they were very little, and this was been about 15 years ago. We went in there to look around, and we heard somebody on the top. And that they have wooden floors, so they creak. Mm-hmm. Well, of course, we was nosy, or maybe we just was curious. We went up there, and there was nothing there. So, and the stairway is real narrow, so we was coming back down, and when we got to this little area where it's kind of flat and not stairs, we got there, then we heard it again. We never finished looking. We went out. This was daytime, too.
I've heard that same kind of experience from other people who thought they were hearing folks walking around on those upper floors, and they sag and bend, and that old wood creaks and sings to you. And, some of the people who used to work in that gift shop that used to be there said they had encountered things they couldn't explain, figures walking down the stairs, and
Ooh, I don't know if I seen a figure or not. That wouldn't have.
well, they said they had happened to some of the folks, not all of them.
I can believe that because they were old council members at that time. Mm-hmm. My grandfather was one of those that sat in one of those chairs. So and he's been gone, gosh, years and years. I wasn't even born. So he was one of those, and that's an old building, and usually they carry spirits like that. The old buildings,
Yeah, retain some kind of energy.
Some kind of energy, yeah.
And I've been told that there's several other spots here in Okmulgee that do the same thing.
That's what I heard too.
Yeah. So places where you might buy a sandwich or get groceries, they've had experiences, things like that. Well, first of all, let me ask you about Halloween. It seems, it's one of my favorite holidays, actually, when I used to get on one of my old Star Wars uniforms and go, have fun with the kids. Or ghosts and goblins and, monsters and things coming out of graveyards and stuff like that. But do the Muscogee people have a word that's equivalent for this season for Halloween?
No, they don't. It's a European holiday, but we have those scary stories which have been passed down for years and years. But as far as the holiday ourselves having one, we don't. We don't really have a holiday. So, but we've taken on that holiday, which we've always had all these spooks and things throughout the year.
Yeah. Now, is there a word that equivalent to Halloween?
Yeah. Some people call it a hanka nitta.
A haka nitta?
A hanka is a monster or, something. And then sometimes they call it dibingalichka nithi. And dibingalichka means to scare somebody at night. So that's what that means. So yeah, we call it that.
Dibingalichka.
Dibingalichka nithi.
Okay. Well, let's run back to the council house real quick, and a couple of our folks from Mvskoke Media, Jason Salzman and Darren DeLon, spent some time in there trying to investigate some of the stories that have been going around and things associated. And they're here to tell us about it. Guys, are you on the line there? Okay, are you on the line there, Jason, Darren? Okay, we'll try again here.
Yes, sir, we are.
Okay.
We are here.
We're doing a few little technical adjustments on our end of it with this wonderful rigged system. First of all, you guys, when were you over there, and what was your purpose for going in there at night?
We were over at the council house last Thursday night, October 20th, and really the purpose was, partly entertainment, because we are in the entertainment business on Native News Today, as well as informative and all that stuff. But we always want to put out a Halloween episode. We like to make it, not so newsy all the time, to pull in other people that want to watch things that are seasonal and whatnot. So we've done a Halloween episode just about every year on the show, and this was a way to sort of satisfy that, while also looking at some history of the council house and exploring some things about it that maybe a lot of people don't know what took place there, such as the council house lawn. Now you see it used as a gathering, a community centerpiece, festivals, art, food, booths, all kinds of things. But it once was used as the grounds for public executions. So I figured that was a very stark contrast that would be interesting to show our viewers and explore something on the subject matter.
Well, that is a pretty dramatic departure from your usual bill of fare on Native News Today.
Yeah.
I guess the biggest question on my mind and our listeners' mind is, what did you find out?
Well, that really was the key. That is the key question, because that's what we were wanting to look for, was to see if there was any semblance.
Okay, well, let's hope that they can give us a call back and reestablish the connection. Jason, if you're listening, it's 918-756-3646. Now, what they were talking about, have you ever heard anything like that? I know that one of our former photographers was in there and shot several photos, and with her eye she saw nothing, but when she got back and looked at her photo, she saw these white glowing orbs that were floating near the doorways and things like that.
Hello.
Yeah, you back there with us?
The ghosts have hung up on you.
Yes, it interfered.
There was the ghost of Timmy Jack grabbed the receiver on our end and hung up on you all.
Well, he must have been messing with this show for the past 3 weeks.
I don't know what that guy's deal is. He needs to mind his own business.
Well, I was.
Yeah, but the main, I don't know where you were left off with, but the main purpose for us was to see if there was any kind of paranormal activity, basically using, an audio recording to see if there was any sounds, anything from camera evidence. Actually, Darren, that's here with us, Darren DeLon, he came along and took photos while we were videoing, and he videoed some as well. So we wanted to kind of hit this thing as sort of a three-tiered attack. Photographic evidence, video evidence, and audio evidence. And Darren, why don't you go ahead and tell them about some of the stuff that, when you got back, that you had brought to our attention going over through some of the audio.
When we were started up there about 8 o'clock that night, we took a lot of, first thing we wanted to do was go in there and just look it over, see where we needed to be at. But while we were doing that, we started taking pictures almost immediately. As soon as we opened the door, it was just taking pictures. I think the total pictures we took was over, if I'm not mistaken, at least 200. I mean, we just kept taking pictures, even if it was just the same area over and over and over. We just kept taking those pictures. So, from what we saw, from what we were looking over there, I know that there was a couple of ones that when we would take of the same part, there would be a picture where there was nothing on there, nothing in that except what we were taking a picture of, whether it was just outside of the council house or in that room. But in the next picture, there'll be like a little orb or something there, some little presence that was there. And then, that's what happened a few times.
And you look at the pictures, and a lot of times, those of us that are in the industry of taking pictures and capturing images, we know that there are, tendencies when you're in different shoots and different settings, especially at night, when you're using flash photography, things like that, for there to be reflections, maybe sometimes you get sun rays hitting things just right. But what was particularly sort of interesting to me about this shot that Darren referenced was that there was no sun, and there was a picture of the exact same setting with nothing reflecting off of that. And then in the picture that he referenced that we looked at with the orb, it's right there. So there's no reason to think that anything changed. There was nothing changed on the camera setting. There was nothing, obviously, that could change with a big earthquake or something, but the council house didn't move that in that 5 minutes or so between pictures. So, one could say, and a lot of people do, believe heavily in, the extra, the presence of, ghosts, things like that. One could say that maybe that's something that would tweak your interest about it.
Well, let me ask Becky here, for the Muscogee word for ghost, is there a specific title or reference?
Yes, there is, and it's called Boyofikcha.
Boyaficcha.
It's a ghost.
Now, has this figured into your background? I mean, you run across this kind of thing in your experience?
Yes, I grew up in Hannah, so there was a lot of spooks down there. You know, we've heard things. I've had one stand behind me before.
Ooh.
And I couldn't see it, but I felt it. I could feel the presence. It was in my mother's home, and I laid in one bedroom, and it would go from the living room, and our house was laid out like a square, and we had rooms that adjoined, so you could go from the living room to the dining room to the kitchen, to the hallway to the bedroom. And I heard footsteps, and I lay there listening to them, and I thought, any time now, it's going to walk in. It's going to walk in. I laid there, and I didn't hear it walk to my bed, but I felt it standing behind me.
Okay.
And my body felt it. The hair on my back probably was 12 foot. I laid there, and I thought, it's behind me. I couldn't move. I couldn't do anything. I just laid there, and I thought, I got to move. My mind was telling me, move. And all of a sudden, I jumped up, and it went away. But I've had something stand behind me. I don't know what it was.
Now, Jason, Darren, while you guys were over there and detected a presence near the southern door, did you get any of this feeling also? Like you went shivers running up and down your spine, this kind of thing?
Can I share a funny story real quick? We were in, the council house is even when you go in there during the day and you're by yourself, it's kind of it's an intense place. You realize the history that's taken place in there. The House of Kings, the House of Warriors, and all the decisions that were made. You can almost hear those voices from the past and such rich history there. And so there is, this, even, like I said, even during the day, there is this feeling of, I don't want to say like in a negative way, but eeriness, almost like you're at a graveyard. And so being in there at night with all the lights off kind of had us on the edge of our toes anyway. And so I was kind of, I kind of wanted Becky to quit talking. I get a little scared anyway, It's like, oh man, she's kind of spooking me here. But when you go in with that mindset, you're already a little bit edgy. Well, we were getting some of the stuff ready to do our recordings, and I had we had a microphone, of course, on me. It's a wired lapel mic. So I had it on me and in my pocket, in my back pocket. And we had done a few recordings already. So, we were pretty amped up. Well, we went downstairs, and it came for the time for Darren to do a few recordings. So, of course, we're going to switch. We had one mic, so we're going to switch the mic from me to him. Well, we took the clip, and if anybody knows a lapel mic, there's a clip, and it wires into a receiver that I said I had in my back pocket. Well, I gave him the clip, and he clipped it on his shirt, and, it's dark and everything, and we're kind of trying to hurry. And so we thought, oh, okay, clip from my shirt to his shirt, we're good. Well, the receiver was still in my back pocket. The wire is clipped to his shirt. He starts moving a little bit, and I feel a tug on my back pocket. Forgetting that the receiver was in my back pocket, I screamed like a 13-year-old girl to the top of my lungs and scared the other guys because I jumped and hollered and Darren and as soon as I did, Darren made this movement like I was pulling the mic off of him. So he makes this movement down and behind me and goes, "Oh man!" I just lost it when he did that because I felt the tug. I saw his sort of exasperation at maybe, oh, he's going to tear the mic off of me, and I just, it scared the living daylights out of me. But that was a funny story. But that was just to illustrate sort of that feeling in there the other night of, there probably is some, some celestial things going on.
Now, let me ask all of our guests here, could these things be kind of brought on by being a little scared and anxious before you go into a situation like that? I mean, does that figure in, do you think?
I can start that. I think with some place like that, as much history that there is, like Jason said earlier, yeah, your senses are heightened up. You're going to hear every little creak and like tiny little noise when you're just walking on those type of floors, or if you hear the wind, anything like that, you're just going to hear all those. So I believe, you're more alert. You're just more ready to hear something, or if you're expecting to hear something.
And that can easily be triggered by just the littlest thing.
Yeah, like such as that. I guess when we were walking in, that door, the door to the council house on the north side, it has a little hitch to it, and it does make a noise whenever you shut it, right before you shut it. And I remember hearing that noise the first time right before we locked it. We just want to make sure nobody else came in or anything like that. But that bothered me.
Yeah. Well, and like Darren said and Becky said earlier, there are things that you get in your mind, and you have this mindset. But at the same time, I would never want to dismiss it as our minds playing tricks on us, because I have my grandmother raised me heavily in a religious background, so I feel that there are spirits, there are things that watch over us, things that are just there, and they're not necessarily there, to spook us or be a Halloween ghost or some kind of scary movie ghost. I think they're just people, these spirits that live on, that enjoy being in the same places, and they're just passing through the afterlife.
Right, Jason, we've got a caller here. Let's check and see what our caller has to share with us. Good morning. You're on Mvskoke. You're on Mvskoke Radio. Who's calling, please? Hello.
Nelson Harjo.
Hey, how are you? Good. Nelson, do you have a story or something that you want to share with us?
I sure do. I was listening to the things you guys were talking about, and you were talking. What was so neat about this is you was talking to some of the Euchee fellas earlier. When I used to pastor at Pickett Chapel, the parsonage there, when I would be there at night by myself, a lot of the members would always ask me if I was scared being there on the grounds by myself. I said, no, I'm not. Well, when I first moved in there was a hole in the bottom of the cabinet where a squirrel used to come in. Well, they closed off that hole, so the squirrel couldn't get in anymore. Well, one night I'm sitting in there in my living room, watching television, eating supper. I hear this noise in the kitchen, so I'm thinking, well, it's probably a squirrel gotten in to the kitchen again. And so I get ready to get up to go see what the noise is, and a little girl comes walking out of the kitchen and walks down my hallway.
Now, was this vision like? Did it strike you as a solid flesh and blood person, or could you kind of see through her, or what?
Oh no, it was a solid person. And so when she starts walking down the hallway, I immediately get up and I follow her, and she goes back to my bedroom, and I'm like, oh man. And then she walks to my closet and disappears.
Oh boy, are you still nervous about going near that closet?
And so on another night, I just got through vacuuming my carpet and everything in there. I left the vacuum cleaner plugged in the hallway, hadn't put it up yet. Again, I'm sitting down eating supper, and all of a sudden the vacuum cleaner starts up, and it starts coming down the hallway.
Oh, God.
So my next thing to do is I go in, unplug the vacuum cleaner, tie the cord up on it, and put it up.
Now, it's odd that you mentioned that, because so many of these spook movies have a vacuum cleaner that comes to life. decides to change things around a little bit there. Okay, well, Nelson, thanks a lot. I appreciate you sharing that story with us. I'm going to have to.
All right, you're welcome.
All
Have a
right.
good day.
We have to be more careful around vacuum cleaners now. Guys, you still with us?
They're not there.
Okay, well.
Jason, y'all still there? Maybe not.
Okay, well, perhaps not. Becky, is the kinds of things that are.
We're here.
Oh, you there? You still with us?
Yes, we are. We weren't able to hear the caller, so if you could kind of just give us a synopsis on what was said.
Yeah, Nelson Harjo. Yeah, Nelson Harjo called, and he was in an older home out in the country, in his home, and kept hearing strange noises, and went to check it out, and he, I guess, turned the corner and saw this little girl walking down the hall toward him.
I'm out on that.
Flesh and blood entity, and he thought, well, what's going on here? And walked past him and into a bedroom and into a closet.
Can we talk about if he saw like a cute puppy or something like that?
He didn't go into any depth, and I'm kind of glad he didn't.
Me too.
But he said when this figure got to the closet, it just sort of disappeared, and he couldn't explain it. It was, I guess, during the day, and not your cliche spooky story settings like that. But I don't know if has anyone here run across something like that. Becky, have you?
Well, my mother told me a story one time way back. There was two men. They were bachelors that lived, and back then they even lived in tents. And this one was dating this girl, well, a woman, and she passed away. And that man said, I would have married her. Married her if she hadn't died. Well, that night, they said that something was slapping on the top of their tent and said, you supposed to marry me. It was that woman. And said they told that story that woman came back. So my mom used to say, you're not supposed to say anything about spirits like that. Mm-hmm. Say, okay, saying, I would have, or something.
Yeah.
You wasn't supposed to say that, And she was telling me that woman was going around their tent just slapping it. And said it was that woman that had just died.
So like an unfinished task.
Yeah, like an unfinished. Yeah, and she said it scared them, and said that man said it's no good to say, and said it scared them, And they left that tent and went and spent the night with somebody else that was close by.
Jason, Darren, let me ask you guys, what did you get from all of this surveillance for the evening? Anything real clear and stark, or was it something that you kind of had to dig for a little bit?
Well, I'm going to do the old TV move here, Gary, and make sure you watch Saturday to find out.
Okay, that was a slick little promotion there, so why don't you go ahead and finish it?
That's an old trick there,
You
for people to watch. No, we detailed in our findings, there were some things that, as we talked earlier, there was some photographic evidence of maybe an orb light in the bottom right-hand picture of one of the scenes we took out in the front of the council house. But there was also some audible, almost like a low wind rush, or a bit of a, I don't want to say roar, that's a little heavy, but almost like a large inhale maybe, or like sort of a soft gasp in between some of the questions that we asked, like, Asicha, Asicha, and we would, maybe hear some things here and there. And so those were some of the things that we pointed out in our findings. So it's very interesting. And another thing is, it's up on our YouTube channel right now. If you go to YouTube and go to our YouTube channel, Mvskoke Media, the entire piece is up, so you can enjoy that. And it also includes a reenactment that we shot of the Timmy Jack confrontation, and a little history on Timmy Jack as well. So that's all in there, and we're looking forward to sharing it with everyone. It's already got about over 100 views, so a lot of people are sharing it, liking it, and that are interested in the piece that we did.
Now, we've seen this similar kind of thing on various TV shows about ghost hunters and things like that. Were there any real distinct phrases? Now, you referenced the Muscogee language, and this is the language you guys used when you asked your questions, correct?
Yes, there weren't any distinct responses in Muscogee. We certainly thank Becky and the crew at the language program for providing us with some phrasing to ask.
They did how to say it.
Yeah, and they did a great job in helping us with that. We're certainly not fluent by any means, but you couldn't tell from watching the video. And I could tell you, where the bathroom is, or how to say lighter and stuff like that. But most of my creek was phrasing growing up. Just a lot like a lot of other people, just phrasing and things like that. So it was neat. That was part of it that was neat for me, was to be able to kind of put together sentences and get involved that way. But no, we didn't hear anything distinctly Muskogee in the audio coming back. Like I said, just sort of audible things that got your attention, as far as that shouldn't be there. That's a little out of the ordinary for that to be right there when nothing else was causing it. That's basically the gist of it.
Darren, let me ask you how you felt when you were asking these questions out there. You were essentially staring off into the darkness and listening very closely. How did you feel when you were doing that?
We had that recorded there, but honestly, I was waiting or just hoping maybe I would hear an answer right there instead of that recorder. Like, it would have been loud enough. I mean, I know probably would have ran out of the council house if that happened. But, just, I guess, just like, want to experience that, like, if there was going to be a reply. That's what I was waiting for. And honestly, I mean, whenever I was, like, looking up and everything, it was, like, trying to, like, get my eye from that light, because that light was pretty bright on in the council house. That it was a light coming from, I think it was one of our phones. We had a flashlight there, and that was the only light we had. And but yeah, my what I was waiting for, I was hoping just to hear a response. Maybe not on the recorder, but just for us to hear it.
Right. Yeah, something that would certainly affect your own thinking about the supernatural. That's good. Okay, well, guys, we're going to let you go. We sure appreciate you coming in. Now, once again, this video has been posted, and if anyone is interested in seeing it and hearing this wonderful voiceover, where can they find it?
It is on the YouTube channel. That's just go to YouTube, search Mvskoke Media, and it'll take you to our page. We're up now over lots of subscribers, so we're excited about what the online channel is doing. There's lots of great content there, and the most recent video is our Halloween special project on the council house.
Okay, well, thank you guys for taking some time for us. We'll be looking that one up again. All right, thanks.
Thank you, and thanks to Becky as well for all your help, Becky. Thank you, guys.
Oh, no problem.
Okay,
Becky.
Now, Becky, thank you for coming in, and we appreciate you adding this interesting depths to our discussion today.
Yes.
And we'll be seeing you back in language class.
All right, we'll be seeing you tomorrow.
Okay.
All righty.
Let me get through a couple of quick announcements here, and we'll be wrapping it up real fast here. First of all, the Muskogee Youth Opportunity Grant is available for citizens school age up to 24. You can use the funds to participate in activities and opportunities that are not part of a school curriculum. If you're interested, contact Youth Services at 918-549-2557. And attention all Creek veterans, reintegration program has been started there, taking on employment opportunities. So if you're looking for a job and ways to enter the workforce, they've got some information and a program there to help you. Get a hold of Deanna Botra, 918-652-2678. Okay, on the 29th here, we've got the Indian Fall Festival coming up from 10 to 4 at the Claude Cox Omniplex with a movie at 6. Muscogee Dome, check that out. A lot of activities, food, and opportunities for Muscogee and community members. And they've got a chili cook-off coming up on the 29th with some cash prizes that look pretty cool. And lots of fun eating lots of good chili. So if you want to check that one out, please do. That's all I've got time for. Thank you for listening in. Y'all be careful in dark places. This is Gary Fife saying Badoo.
Phone and online, it's classic hits of the 60s, 70s, and 80s on 1240 The Brew. 1240 KOKL, Okmulgee, Oklahoma.
You've been listening to Mvskoke Radio. Join us again next week for more local, tribal, and community news and updates. Badoo.